recording.
Woo!
Welcome back to the Eric the Painter podcast, hosted by me and my co-host Corinne. And neither of us are painters, but we talk about paint stuff, the business of paint stuff. It's been a minute actually since we recorded a podcast. I think the last one was recorded 3 weeks ago now. No,
Yeah, it's probably about that. It's been a while. A lot's happened of note since then.
Yeah, a lot has happened. There's a lot to catch you up on. We just honestly just kind of been busy. It's been a crazy couple weeks. We're traveling, went out to the PCA Expo, took a trip to Medellin, Colombia with my friends, and it's just been a little crazy. We just do this for fun. So just haven't had a chance yet. But here we are. Welcome back. Corinne, you said you had a punch list of things to talk about. I got a couple too. Where should we start?
I don't know that's necessarily a punch list, but definitely some milestones, some insights. But yeah, for me, mainly one of those being that you were gone for 2 weeks and we survived. You had a business to come back to, nothing burnt down.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge milestone to be able, as the business owner, to be like, hey, I'm going to be out of town. And, I trust things will get done, which they will. And production was in place. So that was huge.
Yeah, that was really cool. And, for context for everybody listening, I was gone for about 15 days in total, 2 full work weeks, and then 2 weekends as well. 1 week in Orlando at the PCA Expo, kind of an extended week there. And then 1 full week, 2 weekends in Medellin, Colombia, which some of you guys listening may know. In 2022, I lived there for about 5-6 months. A lot of my friends are there. I fell in love with the city, fell in love with the culture. So it wasn't just this weird random vacation. I was there, seeing a bunch of friends and, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was really cool. And I think the kind of the cooler part of it, at least for me, Corinne, was nothing burned down, but it also the last time where I was gone for 9 days in total, but I came back for 1 day. I don't know if you remember that. I was speaking at an event, and then I came back, and then I went to an event that I was attending as a marketing agency event. I came back for 1 day in between. Everything ran fine then too, but it was we were a smaller team and we only had 2 painters, and it was one giant project. It was going to be pretty hard for something in person to go wrong. Right. This was a little different where, we have 6 painters now, a project manager. We were starting and running projects, and projects I didn't even sell. I didn't even know who they were. The customers didn't I don't even sometimes know the projects you and our project manager, Charlie, are talking about. And I think the cooler part of me being away as well was it wasn't it wasn't without issues. It wasn't we just kind of got lucky. We just had amazing customers and some big projects and whatever. We had our share of issues while I was out, and they were all able to be solved without me being there in person.
100%. Yeah. Not issue free, but they were all solved and handled.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we had some pretty decent sized issues during those 2 weeks, and yeah, nothing that couldn't get solved. I remember the big one, Corinne, was, obviously I won't share the customer's name, but a big project that kind of got rescheduled last minute. We were maybe even concerned, hey, do we maybe even just have to pull out of this place entirely, and maybe just kind of let them go as a client and move on. And big job, $15,000-$16,000 job. And they we were already in there prepping their house. When I left, we were in there prepping. We're gonna spray a bunch of trim, a bunch of doors, etc. And they've been kind of GCing their own project. Bless their hearts, but they've been GCing their own project. It's been kind of crazy. They've been changing a bunch of stuff last minute. So they decide last minute we're gonna install crown molding. So we actually aren't ready for paint. And we're well, we already have 70 man hours on this prepping this whole thing, to be sprayed. And so it was definitely crazy. And there was some 7 a.m. phone calls of some strong words being shared, not between us and the customers, but between us as a team, frustrated, everybody just frustrated with the situation, trying to find a solution. We found a solution to that. And what ensued after that was a crazy couple of weeks with scheduling, because we had so much hours booked for that and scheduling and moving pieces and who can move up. And if we sell them, can they start, whatever. So lots of craziness that ensued. We're still kind of on the tail end of that now, actually, I'd say, where the schedule's starting to come together a little bit more and it's becoming a little less crazy because we just had them on our books for, solid like 3 weeks for this project at least. But again, all that got handled while I was in Florida and then a little bit while I was in Colombia. I didn't need to be there in person, which was really cool.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Milestone for you, for the business. And yeah, it was a huge scheduling hiccup, nightmare, something that you're planning on taking up almost half of your month of March is suddenly gone. And your other clients are still in different processes of where they are, and they're not quite ready to get on the schedule, whether they need the walkthrough or they need their color consultation, or they're also waiting on, contractor dependent parts of their project. So, in my job, one of my jobs here is to make sure like we don't have gaps in our schedule. So it was, just really stressful making sure that, we had things ready for our crew of 6, multiple projects. And another item to talk about today, or at least that I wanted to bring up, was communication and just how important it is to have thorough communication from start to finish, not only like with your clients, but like more so in this case, with internal team members. And I couldn't have done it on my own if Charlie, our project manager, and I did not communicate so thoroughly around this and put our heads together and be like, gosh, who can move up? What if we did this? So it really was a team effort, and it felt good to feel supported and, to brainstorm overcoming an obstacle together. And I'm just thankful that I wasn't, in it alone like a lot of, business owners are. They don't have like admin, or they don't have a project manager. They're doing everything all at once, all the time. And it was just a moment for me where I could really empathize with, a lot of business owners where it can just feel like everything's on fire all at once, all the time. And it was pretty stressful, but we got through it, and just a lot of little lessons there.
To your point, I think a lot of paint business owners that are, like they are a painter and they started the business, right? They didn't start the business from our point of view, where I was a business owner first and I've never really been a painter. And I had this marketing company already that could provide cash to start this business, right? It's a very unique place to start from, where, a lot of people that are bootstrapping up and they're the painter. I think it's very easy when we think about teams, or when they think about teams, to think about the actual painters, right? Replacing yourself painting, for sure. But there's this whole other half of the team that is so crucial to this thing, which is the office team, right? And the project manager kind of blends both worlds, right? At least in our model here, and kind of how our org chart and everything is structured. Our project manager blends both worlds between office and production in the field. But then in the office too, we have a project coordinator, right? And Corinne's doing project coordination and recruiting and, several things, just because we're at a small enough scale that she can. But that will be a whole role in the future as this grows, of just a project coordinator that their sole job is to line up things on the schedule, close things out, make sure everything's organized, communicate with customers, make sure that color consultation happened, make sure we have the colors signed off on, so we're not, liable for anything. And all of that sort of stuff is incredibly, incredibly important. And to your point, Corinne, if you're the solo operator with 6 painters in the field and no office team, God, that would be stressful. That would be crazy, right? You'd be trying to figure all that out on your own. It would be insane. To your point, the value of having a great team, and not just a great team in terms of production and painters, like that's incredibly important. And I think the whole thing we went through would have been much more difficult if we didn't have awesome painters that are like, okay, I understand, we're pressure washing these houses in 40-degree weather because that's just, it was last minute we threw in here in the schedule because we had this cancellation, like, whatever. I appreciate you keeping us working. Like that's crucial. But then also having the office team. So like, to your point, you weren't trying to figure this all out alone, but you had multiple people solving the problem all at the same time,
Yeah, for sure. And then when you've got somebody dedicated to, doing the back end or office admin type stuff, like having a really tight pulse on where all of your clients are and knowing their story and being, like, I know I can't put them there, or they might be able to because I know they're flexible. And just knowing where all of those clients sit, like on the back of your hand, to be like, oh, immediate gap, I know who we can put there.
Well, that was one of the things we actually improved in the last week or two that I think we saw a little bit of a gap from this was, well, it was a minor improvement. We added some extra stages to our project management pipeline, right? Basically what we call it, we have a software that we have every single already sold project and where they're at in the process, right? Do they need a walkthrough? Do they need a color consultation? Are they ready to get on the schedule? A column we added in was contractor dependent. Right? Are we waiting to schedule them because they're getting other contractor stuff done? And it was a minor improvement, but we just added, 2 or 3 stages. Think of like a sales pipeline of like follow-up needed, no presentation given, et cetera, waiting on decision. We just added a couple columns just to make it more organized so that at a glance, that information you already have as far as that finger on the pulse, it can just be seen and organized easier at a glance. And I think those little micro improvements is like that stage we're really at right now, of like really, especially on the production side, like that production to office, right? Is like those little tiny systems of like, how can this be a little smoother as we scale to 8, 10, 12 painters, so it's as stress-free as possible. It's like those little micro adjustments are kind of, I think, the stage we're in right now.
Yeah. Which falls under the bigger umbrella of communication. It's a form of communicating where things are, and with your team. So,
yeah, I haven't really asked you this, Corinne. So, and I guess for context for everybody here, we, we do a huddle. We call it a huddle because we do it on Slack, and Slack's feature is called huddles. At about 4:30 every afternoon, right? Our painters will wrap up around 4, give or take a little bit. And we do a 4:30 huddle with Corinne doing the project coordination and Charlie, our project manager. And I try to jump on them, as often as I can. Corinne, during the whole scheduling thing, how, or was that like a helpful, crucial part? Or was it like that was more so just to kind of dot the I's and cross the T's? Or was it like, oh my gosh, like if we didn't have that huddle and that daily congregation spot, like I feel like this would have been even like crazier? Or was it like, wasn't really needed?
The huddle is definitely needed, but communication with the project manager was not only during that time of the day. So it was crucial for one reason, knowing where we sat with project completion, because that's going to help me inform the customer, okay, we have a job taking a little bit longer, or a job finished up a little bit quicker. It's going to be Tuesday now, not Wednesday, or Thursday now instead of Wednesday. And just really dialing that part in and making sure the customer is informed, nothing's happening last minute. But then also as things progress throughout the day, or there's updates after a walkthrough, we talk during the day as well. So yes, that huddle is really necessary for scheduling and to know if there's anything for the next day I need to prep for, and what crew is going to be on what job, because I'll, let the crew know. But yeah, they are pretty crucial. And yeah, there were just times we put our heads together and I'm like, look, here's what I'm looking at for the end of the week. Like I'm running out of options. And he's like, what's the weather like? We could pressure wash these couple exteriors, or, I see if they can do the walkthrough a little bit sooner, and then we can maybe get them on. So again, just like that brainstorming and that teamwork aspect. That, and having that every day at 4:30 time slot to do that, it just helps with routine and making sure, like you said, all T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and we've got a good game plan moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. I know you guys had a lot of communication outside of that as well, kind of during that whole spot, because there were several moments, right, where then I was on the huddle with you guys and you were like, yeah, we already have it all solved, because I was on other calls and meetings during the day and stuff. So that was all freaking awesome. You guys did an amazing job there. I think the other cool thing that kind of happened in the week before I left, which would have been, we haven't recorded a podcast since then, and kind of leading up to while I was out, we talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, but we We probably hired a little faster than we really probably should have, and we kind of saw it coming, right? Where we went from 2 painters to 6 in like 2 weeks, just because we really dialed in the recruiting process, and we had so many talented people right in front of us. We wanted to scoop them up and bring them onto the team. And also, look, we know the reality is of hiring painters that, a portion of them won't make it. Portion of them, we always set the expectation that, like, hey, that first week or two is kind of a working interview. We're going to get to know each other. We're going to see where your skill set falls, et cetera. And we know there is a portion of people that won't make it through those first 2 weeks of working interviews. Thankfully, but also this kind of contributed to the problem a little bit. Every single person was like, awesome. Fit our culture, was exactly what we expected, had the skill set we expected, just really great people and great painters and great work ethics and showing up on time. And like, that's phenomenal. That's amazing. But what that meant is we tripled our production capacity in like 2 weeks, right? So we went from producing whatever it was, like, $5,000-$6,000 a month, or $5,000-$6,000 a week, to producing like $18,000 a week. So that takes that 2.5 month log and drops it down to like 4 weeks, 3 weeks. And then on top of that same time, so like I'm thankful enough that, I've been doing sales consulting and other consulting for paint business owners for 3.5 years prior to starting this thing. So I saw that writing on the wall, and I was like, we can do that. And yes, we're the marketing and sales people, right? Like, we're great at marketing and sales, but I know you don't triple marketing and sales in 2 weeks. That's very difficult to do, no matter how good you are. And I let our team know. I'm like, hey, this is really aggressive. Like, are we sure we're ready for this? We were like, yeah, we were. And I think the pressure got to our team a little bit. And our sales guy, loved him to death, but he had a really rough start to the month of February. Like, we only sold like $7,000. We were at like a 14% closing rate in the first 15 days of the month. It was like, well, that's scary, because now we just hired all these people, and we're like, shoot, man. I remember talking with you, Corinne. I was like, should I cancel the trip to Medellin after the expo? Like, because literally what we were looking at is, it was like, man, if this continues and we don't sell anything, I'm going to come back to the expo to no business. There's gonna be no work on the books. Like, this is crazy. And we did a bunch of things, right? We ramped up marketing spend. I jumped in and took some sales calls, or estimates, whatever you want to call it. They're virtual, so I call them calls. But I jumped in and took some. We implemented some new sales training. We did a bunch of stuff. And I think the cool part is, we ended up closing that same month of February, where the first 15 days we only sold $7,000. We ended up closing that month out with $105,000 in sales.
Yeah.
Just
talk about a crazy turnaround. Are you kidding? That's insane. The shortest month of the year, in one of the slower months of the year.
Shortest month of the year. 100%. Yeah. One of my buddies at Expo was like, well, it's probably the seasonality helping you out. And I was like, brother, I mean, you're right. Like, weather is starting to break and stuff, and that's certainly helping. But like, none of our leads come from word of mouth, man. Like, we don't have people that are like, oh, the weather's nice, let me call. Like, 99, if not more, % of our leads come from marketing, right? Because it's brand new business, and I didn't live in Cleveland any of my adult life. I don't really have any connections or really know anybody here. I don't just know tons of homeowners in my church group and my gym and my whatever. Just, I don't, so no, it was 100% a team effort. I think that was really cool. And, I had 2 really cool moments during this trip. I think I shared them both with you, Corinne, but I had 2 really cool moments that was like, oh shit, this is working. The one moment was, it was the Thursday after Expo. Expo had kind of wrapped up that morning. And, me and Vanessa, one of our team members on the marketing side, and, a couple other paint friends went to Universal Studios, which was a crazy thing for me to do on a Thursday. I was like, I feel like I'm breaking the rules. Like, I'm normally working on a Thursday. But it was really cool to do. And that's something I probably wouldn't have done months ago. But I had this quarter life crisis, and I've been trying to enjoy life a lot more while building the business. And that's a podcast for another day. But we're there at Universal Studios, and our sales guy loves Jurassic Park. Okay. Loves Jurassic Park. Has all sorts of Jurassic Park shirts, and I think he even has a Jurassic Park tattoo. And we did the Jurassic Park ride, right? There's 2 rides there. We did like the log float ride and whatever, and sent him a photo or something, sent him a photo of the gift shop. And he was like, get me a shirt. So we were just joking with him. We were like, yo, like close the deal today and we got you, just kind of joking around. And literally like 10 minutes later, he was like, done. And sure enough, it came through. And it was like a $20,000 exterior. I think it was just an exterior, maybe exterior, interior. I'm not sure.
It was a big project nonetheless. I mean,
it was a big
you always got to find what motivates people. Maybe it's a Jurassic Park t-shirt. Who would have known?
And look, I think it was mostly, I forget. He had told me. I think it was mostly just like coincidence. It wasn't like, oh, I can get this shirt, whatever. It just kind of worked out that way. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, we were sitting like 85 or something thousand for the month in sales. And then obviously had that big one to take us over the finish line. And for everybody that's listening to this, at least I know this is what all of our clients on the marketing side asked us, was like, hey, was that just like, did you have 2 other $20,000 jobs and it was just this big sales month? And no, I think our average ticket was still like 43 or 4,400 or something like that. We had a bunch of little jobs in there too, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, 2,500, et cetera. But that big one is what, in all transparency, put us over the finish line. We were sitting at like 85-ish before and had this huge one take us over 100. We weren't even like, that wasn't even a goal. Like we weren't even like trying to go hit it. But it was super cool. It was like, dang, we just hit $100,000 a month in sales, huge milestone. I haven't been there. I haven't been to Cleveland in a week. And I'm currently in line for a ride at an amusement park.
Wild.
It was it was that like, holy shit, this is working moment,
Yeah.
Like the vision I had when I started this thing, like it's coming together,
Yeah. No, super cool feeling for sure. And, it's just says a lot about what can happen when you have the right people in place and like there's a sense of strong urgency and, talents and efforts are placed in the right places at the right time to get the results that you need. I was going to say want, but it was really like a need. Like it was absolutely like, hey, we got to have jobs.
Yeah.
and that's something, you voiced as well. Like, hey, if we ramp up, I'd rather solve for that problem, which is,
for sure.
I know we're stronger in, in the sales aspect. And I trust that, we can solve for that problem a lot easier than finding, team members last minute or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, give me a marketing and sales problem, put me in coach, right? That was the conversation we had is like, hey, I'd rather have a marketing and sales. Like if I had to choose which problem, me personally, with my skill sets, I'd rather have the marketing and sales problem than the production problem. Cause that's what I've spent the last 8 years, figuring out and learning and practicing and helping others with and all of that. But yeah, it was wild. The other moment for me, Corinne, I don't know if I share this with you, but I had this really cool moment. Like I said, I put myself in the call rotation to take some sales appointments as well. And it was my second day. Well, no, like I got there on the weekend. So it was like my 4th day in Columbia. It was Tuesday. And my Wi-Fi at my apartment that I was staying at, the Airbnb, the Wi-Fi wasn't working that morning. So I went to one of my favorite co-working spots in Medellin and just worked from there for the day. And I had several calls, but like, what are you going to do? You're not going to reschedule those. And it's fine. People take calls from there all the time, but it's less than ideal. You got people walking around, you got noise, et cetera. And one of the calls I had was a paint estimate. Well, hey, just jump on it, right? So I took a paint estimate from this co-working spot in Medellin. Like it's like a really cool, like kind of like hipster, I feel like co-working spots. There's like a bunch of art on the walls. And ironically, like the little spot I was at, it's like a little like standing desk spot, which is pretty cool. Yeah. But it's like right by the men's bathroom too. So you got like cleaners walking by to like clean the bathroom. And they're like talking in Spanish in the background and whatever. And closed a $4,700 paint project, in 50 minutes on the first appointment. Just from another country. No big deal. Awesome. Yeah. And it was like, okay, I closed one in Orlando, that was a follow-up, and, I'd closed all of the ones virtual. So it's like, but something hit different where it was like, yo, I'm not even in the same country. And there was like no problem. Like like, it's only a problem if you make it one. There was no issue. Customer didn't know. We're actually like going to complete her project on Monday. She has been amazing. She's been awesome. Our painter is going to get a fat bonus on that project too. Like, it's been a great project too. And it just was sold from a different part of the world.
Yeah. In a location that's not nice and quiet, typically. I was going to say, did you call out the elephant in the room if there are people talking behind you, or did that even present any sort of...
I didn't even say anything about it. I didn't even say anything about it. Just, it's only a problem if you make it one, right?
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was just like, it was that moment. And the crazier part too is that day was just wild. I had literally like right before, I had one of the craziest calls I've ever had on the marketing side. I won't get into too much of the details because, I mean, who knows, I guess they could be listening, but a client we had to fire in like a week of launching, just like absolutely crazy, incredibly disrespectful to the team. And like, I'm not even sure, his ads maybe went live for like a day or something. It was just like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. So that like wasn't a fun call where I literally had like somebody, I literally had somebody in the co-working space come up to me. They're like, dude, you need a beer after that call? Like, that was crazy. I'm like, you stayed so calm. Yeah. Like, it was hilarious. And then like 15 minutes later, I'm on this paint estimate. It was just like, well, what? The same guy came up to me. He's like, are you closing a deal? Like, what is your, like, what do you do, bro? Cause he was also in sales. He was also a guy like visiting Columbia and in sales. And, yeah, it was a crazy day. And it was that moment where it was just like, dang, like, yeah, like, again, like the vision of, you don't need to be in the city to close these projects. You can do it virtually. Like that one, just like all those extra little factors of like kind of less than ideal day at a co-working space, noise behind you, totally different country, people speaking a different language behind you. Like, I just like really solidified as like, holy shit, like we're doing the thing. Like we're doing the thing.
It can work, and it does work. It's working. It's alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then just to kind of bring this all, full circle and maybe complete some of the story, today, recording this is Saturday, March 16th. I got back into Cleveland Sunday night. So about a week ago. And it's kind of crazy. Like I still like, I've just had a lot to do, right? Been catching up still from being out, for basically a whole week for Expo and everything. We've just had a lot to do on my side, my plate. I still haven't really been to any job sites. It's like, oh, I'm in Cleveland, but it's like, I haven't really done anything in person for the business. I went and did a walkthrough on Monday with our project manager, just because I wanted to see him. I just wanted to hang out, and it was actually that same project that I had sold in Columbia. And again, we just spilled our coffee. That sucks. And we're back from the coffee spill. What were we talking about before the coffee spill?
I don't even know. I was trying to get myself back onto where it left off.
It was, we were talking about how I came back into town, right? I've been back. I still haven't really visited any job sites. I did a walkthrough on that Monday with my project manager, just because I just wanted to get out and see a project, and it was a nice day outside and whatever. And Wednesday of this week, we actually had a visitor come in, a client of ours on the marketing and coaching side that's, trying to do something very similar to me. He's a business guy, not a painter. And he's like, I want to see how you're doing this. And he came and visited, did like an on-site with me, hung out for the day. So naturally, I mean, I took him to some couple of job sites, introduced him to the team, etc. But other than that, it's not like I was doing anything. Like I wasn't contributing. Like I was a guest, like touring, I was like, hey, what's going on? Whatever. But everything ran fine. That's the only thing I've done in person since being here. And I think that was a very cool, bittersweet moment because, I had some weekend plans in Medellin the week prior. And so it's kind of a jam-packed weekend. We were traveling to a nearby city in Guatapé, did some wakeboarding, jet skiing, all sorts of stuff. I'm coming back. It's late Saturday night. I got to go to the airport tomorrow morning. And I'm like, why am I even going?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not needed. Like, there's nothing I'm needed for. Like, there's no reason I need to be back here. I'm not going to contribute anything more by being in Cleveland versus not being in Cleveland. I should just stay here and spend... Sorry, there's more ice on the floor I found from the coffee. Oh, well, it was only one ice cube. But I'm not contributing anything by being here. I should just stay in Medellin and spend more time with my friends and spend more time in the city I like, better weather, etc. But I was like, no, it's still the right choice. Like, still a very new business, very young team, young in terms of how long they've all been on the team, not necessarily in age. Let me go back and, spend some time with them, just get a good finger on the pulse, et cetera. And I'm happy I did. I still think that was the right choice, but that made it bittersweet where, bittersweet leaving home, right? Leaving the country and the city you call home. Whereas like, man, if there was a problem I had to go solve in person, maybe it almost would have made that a little less like heartbreaking leaving Medellin, because it's like, oh, I gotta go solve this thing. I'll be back soon, but it wasn't the case. Both a blessing and a curse, I guess. But the other cool part,
that's how and knowing your goal is like to be there like full time, that had to be tying into that bittersweet feeling of like what I'm ultimately trying to do. I can see the light, right? Like I'm almost there. Like this is just a testament to me not having to be here in person to like fix or train or do anything at this moment. Like we're getting there.
Well, not even see the light, but like, oh shoot, we're kind of here sooner than expected. And it's like, dang, I just want to like, can I just fast forward this? And I could have, but yeah, I do think it was still smarter, rather safe than sorry. Come back, make sure the team's good, see if you can support them at all in person. And I will say, Corinne, I think I was telling you about this earlier this week. Another just very cool moment was, Wednesday when I was showing our guest around to a couple projects, got to go see a couple projects. It was actually, the projects were actually going better than I would have expected them to be. Which is like in
terms of like people being newer to the team. Like why what makes you say that?
Literally all of it. Just like how neat and clean the job sites were, how happy the team was, and they were just vibing, having a great time. Like they were clearly enjoying themselves. Little things they were doing to go above and beyond for homeowners, right? Like one thing one of our painters did was we were working on this interior project, and there was an extra room that like we weren't painting that they were going to paint themselves because they're doing like this like huge renovation, and it needed a little bit of mud work. And the homeowner was like mentioning that as they were just walking through, they were just talking about it, and he already had the mud out, so he just went ahead and took care of that. And she was like, "Do you want me to give you some cash on the side for that?" He was like, "No, it took me 5 minutes. It's all good." Like just like that's awesome. Like that's our culture. Like that's one of our core values is above and beyond. And it's like it's so cool. Just like I wasn't even there. I just popped in. There was nothing I contributed. I asked them all, hey, anything you need from me? Any way I can support you? They're like, no, like we're good. So just vibing, having a great time. The quality of work is super high. That same customer, that same project left us a 5-star review. It's just like, dang, it's like, look, I've seen a lot of paint companies and a lot of paint crews, and you kind of expect to come to a job site. Maybe it's a little messy, maybe, they're not quite practicing quiet professionalism, as Nick Slavic would say. There's some questionable music playing. Like, that's just kind of some of the stuff you would come to expect. And it would be easy to slip into a few of those little things, like if I wasn't there, right? And it was really cool just coming in. And like, I kind of expected some of that, and it was better than I expected. It was awesome. It was like, this is exactly what I'd hope. And I think that's just, again, a testament to the team, to the painters we have on the team, to how we hired, and also our project manager, being a great leader for them and everything. And really, really cool, really, really cool moment as well.
No, yeah, for sure. Definitely, again, a lot of highlights and moments in the company while you were gone. And, when you came back these last 3 weeks since we had our last podcast. So
yeah,
cool moments.
Yeah. I think it just goes back to that same thing you were saying earlier, Corinne, about team, right? People having the right team. Like none of that would have been possible if we didn't have the right painters who just kick butt and bleed our culture and love what they do and have a good attitude and care about the quality of work and all that. None of that would be possible without the office team we have, with you and Charlie and our sales team and everything, of just rising to the challenge, kicking butt. Like, literally all comes down to having the right team in place.
Yeah. Facts.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those are, I feel like, the main highlights from the last 2.5, 3 weeks here. Anything you think I missed, Corinne?
I don't think so. I mean, those were my major ones, was like the power of team, The fluctuating and crazy world of scheduling, and how you think you have things lined up, and then either the people you have in your schedule, like, they're sick and they can't do it. They have somebody in their family dies, or what, for whatever reason, this electrician is having trouble installing this light, and we're gonna have to, like, push back. Just all those little things can culminate to make scheduling really stressful. But yeah, having the right team in place and good plans moving forward can really alleviate a lot of that stress. So yeah, those were some of my personal biggest lessons and wins from the last time that we spoke.
Yeah, no, 100%. So much of it comes down to team and the right people and the right leadership. So much of it. Like, it's not just good marketing. It's not just, we better quality painters. It's like, no, it's the team, and having the right team and the right culture and the right leadership that makes this thing so successful, and makes it, I wouldn't say so successful. We're still very new to this, but allows it to be a thriving business, even with the owner in another country, Yeah. So yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all I got. This is a slightly shorter episode, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know, drop in the comments. This is mostly on YouTube. So drop in the comments if you could, like, if there's anything specifically you heard here that you want us to go deeper into. And maybe we can do a podcast that goes specifically, deeper into one of our systems, or how we do certain things, or, et cetera. More like a training podcast, more specifically. So there's something specific you want to see or hear more of, drop it in the comments, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.